Hello, beautiful beings. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to Heart Space Atelier. I'm your host, Henry. Welcome. I hope you're all doing very well. So, as you guys can see, I'm in a different environment. I'm currently in Scotland visiting my friend, and this is her living room. And I love it so much. I love all the greens and orange colors here. It is truly like a very vibrant, sacral chakra coded, heart chakra coded space. We are going to be talking about something that I recently talked a lot about on my TikTok. For some reason, it just kind of came to the surface again and again. And as I have been, moving through life a bit more peacefully recently because I am just getting over a really annoying stagnant cold as well. I have found myself just moving through life much slower than I usually do. And it has kind of really shaken me up and my whole reality and day to day life. And why I think it's so important to slow down and kind of step away from this rat race culture. And I just really want to chit chat about it with you today. So I hope you get your comfort drink. I hope you, cozy and bundle the fuck up and slow down to enjoy this episode. A little bit of a story time as well, because, the past 2 weeks have been a little crazy. So a couple of days ago, I got this cold, and it was kind of like a different cold because for some reason I still had a lot of energy and I still had like I could basically do everything I wanted to do, but my inner gut feeling was telling me to slow down because if I wouldn't have done that, it would have gotten worse, if you know what I mean. Like sometimes I think these things happen, like, getting sick, getting a cold, whatever, because we are meant to slow down during that time in our life. And I was definitely meant to slow down this week and the week before that as well, because, there was a lot of sickness going around, a lot of cold, a lot of like flu like stuff in my loved one's circle. So, it was definitely like telling me to take my vitamins, drink lots of tea, and slow the fuck down because you don't want to stress the living shit out of yourself and your nervous system and body because obviously we get more prone to getting sick. So it kind of already started back then, around Christmas time. But I felt this deeper, 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 deeper truth just kind of like coming in when I was running my errands this week, when I was going for walks, when I was, filming content, when I was planning the next step of my creating my business and like all of that, And then on top of that, also knowing that I'll be heading to Scotland for a week to be here spending time with my friends and being in a different environment, I just knew that I had to fucking slow down. And listen, I was talking about this the other day, I think, in the podcast as well. And this is not my quote. I'm not sure who it's from, but I have been living by that and because it feels so true to me, which is basically if you are born on a roller coaster, you have to learn how to get off that roller coaster eventually. And this is truly what stuck with me ever since I read it because I feel like, throughout my entire childhood and teenage years, I was kind of like taught to fear the present moment. And I was taught that the faster you do things, the more efficient everything will be. But now I've just gone through this slowing down awakening of being like, oh, actually, if I slow down, it is going to grant me more space in my head and in my heart for solutions to come through, for things to work out even faster. Because that is the irony. Once you slow down, things will be solved faster because you're no longer in a rush, and you're more like in tune with your natural and divine timing. Whereas if you're like waiting for an important message, or you're waiting for, a sign from the universe, or you're waiting for basically anything, or you're like in a time crunch and you need to get shit done fast, and you're stressing yourself and you're like rushing through life, that is usually when it takes longer. And this is the irony. So I think we are meant to slow down to get everything done in a peaceful way. And I know this sounds insane because I'm 24 years old now. I just turned 24 last month. But I never understood this. I was always rushing through life. And I've been, like doing my spiritual practices for the last 5 years, 6 years actually. I started meditating when I was, I would say like 17. And ever since, I have really been in tune with my spiritual side, because 2019 was kind of like the year where I, first truly got into like all that spiritual stuff, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm having a spiritual awakening, like, the drill. Um and ever since, I've been really in touch with that side and meditating and journaling and blah 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 blah. But all of this will not help you if you don't consciously slow down in everything you do. And all of this hit me as I was going for a walk the other day, because I felt this cold kind of creeping up. And as I said, I knew in my heart that I needed to slow down. Even though I didn't want to, I felt this resistance as well. But I needed to slow the fuck down. I really needed to, because I felt myself getting overwhelmed and stressed, because I also like had a lot of paperwork to do. I had a lot of things to do in terms of, insurance, taxes, and prepping for my trip, and also, filming content, because that is one thing I feel like, once you're kind of devoted to a craft, at least that's how I feel. When I devote myself to something, it's like I have to keep going. I have to keep going. Not because I feel like I'm crazily forcing myself, but because I have so much inspiration and I have so much ideas flowing within me that I need to put them out ASAP. Like, I cannot not do them. It's just kind of like I have to pour my whole heart into the project that I'm working on, and I need to do it fast because I'm impatient, and that is something that we're working on. So I was going for this walk, and I was like, okay, I need to slow the fuck down. So as I was walking through such a beautiful winter wonderland scenery in Berlin, I slowed down in my steps in what felt like the first time in forever. Like, I don't remember not speeding through my daily walks, not speeding through life, not speeding through my errands. And I just, as I'm talking about this, I feel this need to like just breathe more deeply as well. Just like, you know, slowing the fuck down. And it got me really emotional as well, because I was like, whoa, I cannot believe I'm always rushing through such beautiful moments. And as I was slowing down in my steps and walking really slowly, I noticed so much more magic around me. I noticed the birds flying around. I noticed the children playing in the snow. I noticed the snowmen that were built. I noticed the beautiful sky and the airplanes that were like just flying around, that looked like shooting stars, like pink glowing shooting stars because the sun was setting. And I saw the pink sky and the snow, and it was such a special moment. And it just really truly made me realize in that moment I made the conscious decision to just start slowing the fuck down no matter what it takes and no matter in which situation I am. No matter if I feel like I'm running out of time or if, there's a stressful situation and I'm like in a crowded train or, going through security at the airport and it's really crowded or things like that stress me a lot, especially as a, highly sensitive person who doesn't really like being around too many people, especially when they're strangers, and I just feel like really cramped up. Slowing down in those moments has also really set me free because I made that effort when, I was at the airport 2 days ago and, I was taking public transport because these things really stress me out because I go in there usually with the intention of being like, fuck, I hate it here. I need to get the fuck out. So slowing down in moments where it is uncomfortable, you feel really uncomfortable, is the key to returning to your peace, even when it feels like really hard and you feel like you need to make yourself small and you get anxious. And, there's just a lot to it that is so needed, especially in moments that we want to escape from. I think it's so important to slow down. And on the spiritual aspect of all of this, I found myself being more prone to receiving the day-to-day miracles that await me in life and want to be in my life and want to come into my life. But when I'm always speeding, when I'm always consciously deciding, or consciously as well, subconsciously as well, deciding to stay on that roller coaster, my blessings cannot catch me. The divine cannot catch me if I'm always on that roller coaster. Like, how do you expect for everything you love and for everything that's on your vision board to come into your life when all you do is run away from it? Because speeding through life is literally running away from your blessings. When you slow down, that is where the magic happens. That is where you return to the present moment, to joyful presence, to abundant presence, And that is the sweet spot of your life where things shift in ways that you just cannot expect in any other scenario, you know? And I think this is key to manifestation and like bringing in the energy that you want in life. You cannot manifest from fight or flight. You cannot manifest from the roller coaster. Like you just have to really see it like that. You are literally on a roller coaster with like a billion loops and it's going like so fast. And as you sit inside the roller coaster, you get out your journal, your manifestation journal, and you try to write it down. Obviously, it's not working. Like, you need to, you know, take the space and time, touch grass, divine touchdown, calm the fuck down, and realize that there's no danger in the present moments, because we have been so deeply fed into this belief that there's danger in the present moment, there's danger in slowing down because we cannot catch up or, we cannot win the rat race of this society. And slowing down goes against so many things that we have been manipulated into thinking. Like, if you work in like a corporate setting, if you work a 9 to 5, if you know, there's so many things that are connected to that. It's not even just the job. It is taking public transport to go to that job, which can also sometimes just be fucking stressful. And then you arrive at that job and there's more of the stress and fast-paced energy. And it is hard for us to differentiate when to bring that energy out, because sometimes speeding up is actually good, you know? When you're working out or when you need to like truly get shit done. You know, you have a good coffee, 2 espresso shots, and then you whoosh, you fucking go, you know? But we have to learn to use that roller coaster when it's truly needed, and how to let go of that roller coaster and slow down and breathe deeply into the knowing that we're safe in the present moment while slowing down. Because a lot of the times we still somehow get on that roller coaster when we are laying in bed and we want to sleep. We cannot sleep because our mind is racing, everything's racing. Or, you know, we have, this is me. I listen, when we have like a chill Sunday without any obligations, it is so hard for me to have a chill day and stay at home. It is so hard for me because I always need to be up to something. And on one side, that is very nice because I will indulge in my creative passions and I'll be creating a lot. And I'll be going on lots of walks. And, you know, that does feed my soul. But sometimes I just wish that I can just do nothing. And that is really hard for me. And I admire people who can just bed rot, you know, who can just really do nothing all day on a day where they're meant to slow down. Like, it is a new concept for me. And actually, that is what I'm kind of doing today, besides recording this episode and probably editing it and also, you know, making some TikTok videos, which I love. You know, this is not stealing energy away from me. This is actually fueling my inner fire. And because I am in such an overflow right now as well with my inner fountain of creativity, that I think it is a healthy idea for me to do all of this. But as I'm doing it, I meant to slow the fuck down. So I also want to talk about the daily routines and rituals that have really helped me lock into this space of slowing down and letting my inner fountain of passion just overflow again, you know, because that's also another thing. Like, in order for us to gain more creativity and passion and motivation, we need to slow down first. It's like, you know, the bow and arrow. You have to pull the arrow back so it can shoot. So slowing down is kind of like that, you know? So what I realized, and this goes way back because I've been kind of like on the lookout for just getting more peace and being more grounded in my day-to-day life for a while. I feel like the past 2 years have been really, you know, pretty much me trying to find that inner peace, to find that space within myself in my day-to-day life where I'm like, yeah, we we feel cozy right now. We feel peaceful right now, you know? So it has been a while, but it just recently hit, and that is why I'm filming this today. Anyway, so the things that really fucking help me, and I was talking about this on my TikTok recently as well. So number one, obviously, is taking a walk and not speeding through it, but like really forcing yourself to stay as grounded and walk as slowly as you possibly can. And it is going to feel so foreign to you at first because it is not something that we're used to. I believe speed walking can be fun and good in different settings, but if you are a chronic speed walker, I think it might be a sign that you are pushing yourself and you're on that roller coaster. So force yourself to slow down in your steps. It is gonna unlock more passion and inspiration and beautiful day-to-day nature miracles around you. You're gonna see, and feel and experience so much more than you would usually do. When I speed walk through my walks or errands, I get exhausted easily, and then I wonder why, and then I feel uninspired and I just want to go home. But slowly walking, especially through a busy environment like the city, and I live in Berlin, so you know, it can be a very hectic environment sometimes, but when I slow down, there's so much more magic for me to find and see, and it is such a beautiful feeling. It is such a beautiful feeling knowing that even though I'm sensitive to all these energies and it can overwhelm me a lot when I slow down, that I see past this hectic energy and find the miracles and the beautiful moments, the wonders, the divine in the mundane. Finding the divine in the mundane is basically what happens when you slow down. So yes, I highly recommend you go for a walk and slow the fuck down in your steps and take deep breaths. And if that kind of if that's hard for you, just put on your headphones, listen to some music that's gonna calm you down, listen to some Lana Del Rey, listen to some, I don't know, frequency music. I've truly been enjoying the Deeper Well album by Casey Musgraves. It slows me down quite a lot, actually, and it inspires me, so I highly recommend that. I love that shit. I love that album so much, and I've just recently gotten into it. I know it was released a while ago, but it is so fucking good. It is. I love that. So I connect this album with my slowing down process. Okay, next step. And who would I be if I wouldn't be talking about this? I am the king. The king of making fun drinks, hot beverages, in such a magical, divine way and enjoying them. I need at least 3 to 4 warm beverages a day. I need my coffee. I need my espresso shot with oat milk and maple syrup and maybe cinnamon if I'm feeling fancy. I need my chamomile tea. I need my fennel tea. I need my, I don't know, my go-to orders when I go out to get my coffee is definitely dirty chai. I need all of that, okay? And we're having some maple syrup oat coffee in here as well. Italian coffee, might I add. This is kind of where I'm getting at for the second thing you should do. Enjoy your drinks, okay? I don't want any one of you to just make them and just kind of like gulp them down and rush throughout your day again. No. Coffee is a sacred thing. Nobody can tell me otherwise. Obviously, food is a sacred thing as well. We should be present and enjoy our meal much more than we do. But coffee, all those drinks, you can even take it for a walk. Like there's something magical about it, okay? And I need you to enjoy it and stay in the present as you enjoy it. Take a deep breath. Speak gratitude into your drink of your choice. And if you want to like take it up a notch, you can even like stir it clockwise and speak your intentions and what you want to manifest, the energies that you want to manifest into it. There's something so magical about it. And we shouldn't be taking any of this for granted, okay? Any of this. Because some people don't even have water, So who are we to rush through all of these royalties? Because we live like royals these days. I think we forget that a lot. We live with privileges that the usual 17th century person would have never had if they weren't royal. So I think it is important to just see everything as a blessing and realize our privileges because, You're watching this right now, you're listening to this right now. That in itself is a privilege. You are consuming content that inspires you, helps you grow on a spiritual level, on a mental level, for free. For free. Okay? That is wild if we truly think about it. And I just spilled coffee over my laptop a tiny bit and onto the ground. And how ironic is that? What I also like to do, and this is something I'm still learning and something I'm still really wanting to kind of add into my daily routines, is when you have your coffee, when you have your matcha or whatever you're drinking, to just sit by a window and look out and just observe. Just observe, and finding what's going on out there, you know? These things heal something so deeply within us, and it is so simple, it is so easy, and some of you might be listening to this being like, well, this is nothing special, but honey, it kind of is, because we really don't do that these days, So whatever we're doing, whether we're reading, whether we are watching a movie or a show on Netflix, even then it is considered as a distraction, but even then we will be scrolling on our phones as well, So why don't you just, next time you're watching your favorite show or your favorite movie, why don't you just treat it like cinema? You also have your phones off during when you watch a movie in the cinema, right? Why don't you just treat it the same way? Make it a special thing. Because we are over consuming so much these days, and we are like watching anything on Netflix, and we treat it as this thing that is just normal and happening, but it is a fucking blessing and privilege. And how cool is it that we can stream basically anything nowadays? It wasn't like that 20 years ago, 10 years ago. Like, you know, 10 years ago, I think, yeah, it's already 2026. Holy shit. And I just saw 444 on the clock. I love that. But, we're taking this for granted. So, whatever you're consuming, make sure you be present. Make sure that it is not just running by and it is not just something that's in the background. No. Allow yourself to consume with presence, because that will overflow you as well. Because movies and shows teach us so much about life as well, and we are meant to listen and see and get inspired by the storylines and characters, That's what I love to do. When I feel like I cannot handle a certain situation, I'm like, who do I want to be? What energy do I want to channel? How do I want my movie of life to look like right now? And what actor or like what character do I want to be? So these things we shouldn't be taking for granted. And whatever we consume, whether it's, music, whether it's any type of media, books, whatever, we should not be taking it for granted. And once you slow down and be present while consuming that, something shifts and it makes life more magical. Another routine or thing that I really, really, really like to do, which I feel like I should mention here because it's somehow connected, is doing hip openers, like yoga positions. Like, I don't know, the pigeon, the mermaid, I don't fucking know. Just look up on YouTube like hip opening, like leg hip openers, because it is said that basically in your hips your emotions are stored, and once you do these hip opening positions, they kind of get released. And honestly, I subscribe to that belief completely. I don't think it's a belief. Maybe it's even like proven or something. To me, it fucking is, because every time I do these hip openers, I feel my emotional state start to shift, and especially if you linger into them and if you kind of like go more deeply into them and, like the butterfly pose, for example, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, I just go onto the ground and I do the butterfly pose. There's something about it that just makes me shift my emotional state immediately and makes me return back to the present and therefore slow down again. So yoga is really a huge part of it. I don't practice it every day, but I do practice it a lot, I guess I would say, you know. And I really would like to do a yoga teacher training someday, but the calling hasn't found or struck my soul yet. So we're gonna find out when that will be. But I highly recommend stretching. It just releases you. And then, as we are already talking about physical practices for your body, shaking and dancing and just like shaking it off is so powerful, because why do dogs shake their ears? You know, I have a theory. I think Aurora said this, the singer. She was talking about dogs shaking their ears and heads because they just want to let go of the energy. They want to let go of the stress. And I feel this so deeply. And I started doing this as well. And this might sound insane. I don't care. I don't fucking care. It helps me. Okay, once you shake your body, you release stagnant energy. So shaking is one of the most and dancing, shaking and dancing it off is one of the most beautiful and shifting things you can do. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, that is where you shake and dance. Period. Another thing you need to kind of also force yourself to do, especially if you're not an artistic person, is to create art of any kind. Because we're all writers, we're all painters, and it doesn't matter how bad or good we are. And I'm doing air quotes because art is art. There's no good or bad, there just isn't, because sometimes the art that is the worst appealing to the public eye is for some people the best, and vice versa. So there's no point in rating art, because art is not a spectrum to be rated. It is just like it's there and it is what you make it to be. And some people will resonate and some people won't. So art is just art. It shouldn't be rated at all. And, I see it all the time with, different artists who get really criticized for their quote unquote bad writing, like Taylor Swift or a lot of successful people these days. And I'm like, who cares? They're having fun. And a lot of people still resonate with it. Who cares? We are not meant to rate art. Of course, we can say, we don't resonate with it, but then we don't have to consume it. Who cares? Who fucking cares? So just create your art. No one cares. You should do this for yourself, create something, get out your blank canvas. How magical is it? You have a blank canvas and you can basically put anything on there. It is so magical. We are creators. We are little gods ourselves, because we can create anything we want to create. And this is truly something that we forget a lot of the times. But everything you see, everything you touch, whatever you're sitting on right now, or if you're in the car, or if you're walking, if you have shoes on, clothes on, everything was made, And the first thing, there's motorbikes going outside. Anything that was created needed to have the thought of the creation first, So every single thing we see and feel and use is kind of like somebody envisioned that before and then created it through their minds. They had the thought and it became physical reality. And that shit is fucking cool. Really cool. And we should be taking advantage of our powers more because we forget them a lot of the times. So yeah, I think slowing down in everything we do is the most important and kindest thing to your soul that you can do so that you can keep your inner romance with yourself and with the universe alive and passionate and healthy your entire life. It is not something that you should do, it is something that you have to do. Because if we don't slow down in this fast paced world, we can easily get lost. And it is important that we don't do that. It's important that we do slow down and that we just breathe deeply and the rest will just appear, you know? Everything will fall into place once you allow yourself to slow down. Anyway, that is all I had to say about this topic. And I hope it brought you some peace. I hope it brought you some inspiration to just really just calm the fuck down. Because it is needed for your soul, you know? And you don't have to have anything figured out right now. You don't have to think that you have to rush in order to get where you want to be, because the sweet spot is slowing down, because that's where the magic happens a lot of the times. So don't you stress, okay? Don't you stress. Things will start shifting for you, but you need to allow yourself to walk slower, consume more consciously, and drink your coffee feeling inspired and in overflow by the miracle that it is, aka your coffee. You know what I mean? Like, just appreciate everything. And I know a lot of people say, like, oh, appreciate the small things and stuff. And it sounds cheesy, but there's so much magic that lies in there. There's so much magic that unfolds once we actually appreciate the small things, you know? Anywho, thank you for listening. I would love to hear from you, how this made you feel. And if you would be so kind, feel free to rate the podcast. I would highly appreciate it. And also feel free to comment or like text me, DM me what kind of episodes you want to see in the future and what themes you want me to discuss in the podcast in the future. And yeah, thank you for being here. I love you so much. And remember to take deep breaths and know that you are divine and there's a deeper inner well of love within you that can be accessed at all times. Yes. Love you so much. Bye bye.